All right, Rhea Ripley fans, Mami has something to say. You're definitely going to want to listen up because Rhea Ripley, one of the most dominant forces in all of WWE, has absolutely unloaded on a certain section of the fan base, specifically those fans who claim to champion for women's wrestling, yet they spend all of their time tearing down every woman they pretend to support. We've got the details on her powerful yet no hold barred comments where she calls out hypocrisy and delivers a pretty direct message. What set Rhea off and what does she think about the fans should be doing instead of spreading negativity? We're going to be diving deep into it. So, I don't know if y'all saw this or not, but it was a pretty big talking point on the internet on Wednesday. So, it's a random Wednesday afternoon. We're all scrolling Twitter, right? We're seeing all the negativity. And then we see a very interesting tweet by one Rhea Ripley. And she took to Twitter to slam those who criticize female wrestling and wrestlers while pretending to be supportive. And it brings up a much bigger talking point, which I'll get to in a minute. But I think it's important to note that while, yes, we are in the golden era of women's wrestling, in my opinion, the best time to enjoy women's wrestling because they are finally treated like top stars that they are. They are finally treated as top stars alongside the men. And that is something that all wrestling fans should be proud of, right? So we have a situation in which she took to Twitter and she wrote, "Women's wrestling fan. Women deserve better. She's sleeping with her boss. That's why she's where she's at. She should retire. She doesn't deserve it. She's handed everything and never worked for anything. I hope she gets injured." Now, Ripley, she didn't mince words in her response, making it clear that she is fed up with the hypocrisy. Her tweet continued, "You guys are the real reason it's so difficult to be taken seriously as women's wrestler. If you put as much effort into your own miserable lives as you put into degrading successful women, then maybe you would accomplish something yourself." Now, keep in mind that it's true. What she says here is 1,000% true. Well, how is that? Okay, so you have to look at it like this. For years and years and years, women's wrestling was looked down upon to a point where many considered it a joke, right? So in the 80s and early 90s, they were trying to build it up as these athletes are credible, right? They should be looked at as the men. But you had some success, right? You had you had a little bit of a mixture in WWE, but WWE, they completely took away the women's division in the late 90s after Medusa, Alundra Blaze, whoever you want to call it, jumped ship to WCW and dropped the championship in a trash can. Now, WWE later brought back said championship, but you got to keep in mind during the Attitude Era, women were looked down upon as objects and props. And how can we pop a number with ridiculous gimmicks, right? Your bra and painting matches, your pillow fights, your mud pit matches, dance offs, whatever, right? Just like, I never understood that. It's like, hey, man, there are other better options out there if you really want to get that fixed rather than wrestling. I didn't think he needed that to be in wrestling. And especially me as a kid going up through the Attitude Era, I'm an 8-year-old and there's a weird segment going on and I got to change the channel or mom won't let me watch wrestling anymore, right? So you always have to play that. And so then we go into the early 2000s and they're trying to build up the credibility, right? The Trish Stresses, the Litas, the Molly Hollies, the Jazz, all of these women, and they're trying to make it something. And then the next generation comes in. I'm talking about the Molinas and the Mickey James and the Beth Phoenixes and the Michelle McCools, and we're during this women's / divas era, and it's a complete joke, okay? Because you had WWE, and WWE was looking at it as, oh, well, this is just, we have to have women on the show, but we don't care about it. Therefore, we make it obvious that we don't care about it and that you shouldn't care about it. And then on the flip side, you go and you turn into TNA wrestling, and not only are they presenting these women as main eventers, and they're giving them all this time, incredible storylines, and the Gail Kims and the Awesome Kongs and the ODBs and the Mickey Jameses and the beautiful people and all of these talents that they come out of. Your Victorias. And they're putting on these main event level matches, main event level feuds, if you will. And then we go and we see WWE where they are literally saying, all right, y'all, you have 5 minutes to make entrances and do a match. And then when they get to Gorilla, they go, you know what? You actually have 3. And it's like, how do you expect anyone to care? How do you expect anyone to get over? How do you expect anyone to tell a proper story with a one-man match? Well, you don't, right? And so when Triple H came along and he established NXT, he looked at it and he goes, okay, we can make this better. We can do this better. And there's a better way to get women over. And so in NXT, he propped up the women's division and he really put an emphasis on there. I'm talking about the Emmas and the Paiges and the, all the well, you're on Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, and Becky Lynch and Bayley, right? And all of these women that came through NXT, they're being put in main events and they're being able to work like the men and they're able to throw punches, right? For the longest time, which is insane, WWE wouldn't allow wrestlers to throw punches if you were a female, right? Which is ridiculous. That's all the work, y'all. Like, calm down. But regardless. And so when we get this evolution in NXT, it transfers to the main roster. Then that's when they bring back the women's titles. And that's when you have this influx of talent. Your Charlotte Flairs, your Becky Lynch's, your Bayley's, your Sasha Banks's. All of these talents, they can mix it up with the Bella Twins. And can mix it up with AJ Lee. And can mix it up with name a star. And that's when things start to change, right? We get the revolution, we get the evolution, and now, as I say it, we are in the golden era of women's wrestling. Because if you look at the rosters right now, there is a real argument that if you look at WWE's women's division, and I'm including Raw, I'm including SmackDown, I'm including NXT, it's as loaded in terms of just pure in-ring talent as the men, right? And I'm going to list several names here, but I'm going to miss one. Your Rhea Ripley's, your Becky Lynch's, your Bayley's, your Charlotte Flairs, your Liv Morgans, your Io Skies, your Kairi Sanes, your Asukas, your Stephanie Valkyrie, your Julias, all of which have been able to mix it up. Your Roxanne Perez. I mean, there's so many talent out there that can absolutely perform in WWE, can absolutely perform on a big time stage.